to really deep dive into a little bit more today around anxiety and how that shows up in business. You know, we hear the word anxiety and we have, you know, some of us have this preconceived idea of panic attacks and, you know, sweaty palms and maybe just before going on stage or doing public speaking. And that's definitely one element of it. But there's so much more than that. You know, when we look at what anxiety is in its basic terms, we look at the way we see the unknown, the way we see the future that hasn't even started yet. So when we look at things on the unknown, how does that translate into business? What does that even look like? It can look like feeling nervous around showing up on social media. It can look like really finding the right words to articulate what you want to say instead of just naturally coming out, because we're trying to censor ourselves. We're trying to control the way it lands with other people. It can look like, you know, having those premature thoughts on what are people going to think about my program, my services, my prices? Are people going to think I'm valuable? Are people going to, you know, think that I'm worth it? Are people going to think of, you know, that I am knowledgeable enough, and all those sorts of things that can play in your mind. There's also what I find when working with my clients one-on-one in clinic is that once they get to a certain point in business, now this point varies from person to person because of our own personal belief system. What I find is when we hit the 50K month mark, there is this sort of this feeling that we're joining a club, so to speak. Like there's this feeling that, you know, I've made it, or you know, I'm at that next level. And there are so many beliefs that come with it, and some of it could be, am I worthy of this next level? What are people going to think of me? Are people going to think that I'm bad or a snob, or that I'm not obtainable anymore, or that I'm not relatable anymore? And all these sort of things that come with it. And when we have those beliefs enter in, we can notice that our income or our achievements or our progress can fluctuate because we're in that fluctuating energetic state as it is. Okay? So that's what anxiety can look like in business. It just doesn't have to be, you know, the traditional diagnosis, I guess you could call it. It actually appears in so many facets, in so many ways within business. You know, some of it could be, you know, setting a goal for yourself, whether that's a monetary goal, whether that's an impact goal, whatever it may be for you, and thinking that it's too far away for you to achieve, and you sit in that frozen zone, that fright zone of, I don't know how to move because that goal is unattainable for me. I don't know how to achieve it for me. Who am I to even have that sort of goal? It's all these beliefs that we've really got to squash and get out of the way. And what anxiety is in nature is it's your energetic system, it's your soul, it's your higher self telling you, babe, you're off path. You're out of alignment with yourself. So let's work it so you can get back on, because anxiety is not naturally who you are. Negative emotions is not naturally who you are. So you get to work through back into alignment. And this is where I find working with both ways, both energetic, both cognitively, working them together gets us the fastest results. The main underlying reason why we have anxiety from a cognitive behavioural perspective is because the way that we're thinking the way that we're looking at things, the perspective that we're taking, is making us feel anxious, is not right for us, is not right for you. And there are certain ways of thinking that do this more than others, right? So we call them the pillars of anxiety. And the first one is what we can control and what we can't. When we're trying to control the uncontrollable, when we're getting frustrated that the uncontrollable is not what we want, this is when anxiety sets in. It's like, babe, you have no control over certain things. You have no control over what the weather does, what people say, what people do, how people react. There's so much that we don't have control over that we get frustrated at. I was listening to a woman the other day about the level of frustration that she had for her sister-in-law because her sister-in-law said something that she didn't like and she wouldn't apologize for it. And therefore, this woman was holding herself hostage in that anxiety, in those negative emotions, because of how someone else wasn't going to show up. What someone else was willing or not willing to say. Now that is almost like putting yourself in a prison because you can't control how they show up. You can't control what they do. And just because someone does something that you don't agree with, why should we hold ourselves hostage in the emotional baggage because of it? So while there's one element of anxiety, which is what we can control and what we can't, and then there's the other one which goes hand in hand with that, which is what emotions are worth giving your attention to. Because some of them are real, some of them are not real. There are some of us that are really good at creating stories in our head. A lot of us are. And therefore we can almost categorize them as, look, they're not real. We can learn to put them aside. We can learn to let them go. And that's a process of its own. But then there's the ones that are real. I'm allowed to be mad at this. I'm allowed to be angry. I'm allowed to be frustrated. But is it worth holding onto that anger? Is it worth holding onto that guilt? Is it worth holding onto that frustration? Is it worth holding onto these emotions that do not make you feel good? And they don't make us feel good because they're not in alignment with who we truly are. So when we start working through all these pillars of anxiety, and there's 5 or 6 of them, we change the way that we look at the world, and therefore the world around us starts to change. You know, we know that we're a vibrational being and that we attract who we are. We attract what we are. We attract where we're vibrating at. So the moment we change our perception of things change. We see more opportunity. We have more clarity. We get more aha moments. Those synchronicities in life just happen. And so over the years, I've been working in this space for over 10 years now. And I've been working with anxiety a lot. And I've been really deep diving into this field in particular. And what I notice is that the fastest route to it is through hypnosis. Because hypnosis really changes us on a subconscious level. It's like allows us to process things without having to do the hard work. We don't have to go back to the root cause of why something happened and feel it and sit in the dredges of it again and relive it and all this sort of stuff. We don't even have to understand it. But hypnosis allows us to rewire the brain. And this is a really important thing to remember because there's a lot of modalities out there that don't believe you can heal from anxiety. A lot of them don't. But we prove it time and time again, especially with hypnosis, and that's the reason the part of a lot of modalities don't believe you can heal it or don't believe you can move through it, and that's why there's a lot of tools out there to help you cope with it. And I've heard so many people say, I'm just an anxious person, I've just got to learn to cope with it. No, you do not need to learn to cope with it. You can heal it. You can change your perspective. You can change the way you think. You can change the way you feel. You can change the way you look at the world very quickly and so easily and simply. And this is what we do in one-on-one work. It's what we do in the Anxious to Empowered course. It's all of this is about deep diving into that subconscious through the energetic work, through the hypnosis work, and allowing your body to be able to process things a lot more successfully. And as I said, when it comes to business, it's not just about anxiety and the sweaty palms and the overthinking and the overanalysis and the, trying to control the uncontrollable. It shows up in, when setting budgets, when creating content, when working with your clients, when setting prices, when putting out new programs, when launching, in the middle of a launch. Oh my God, how many of us in the middle of a launch, when you're launching a program or launching anything new, or even just launching your business, gets that little internal freak out going, oh my God, are people going to sign up? Am I going to get the numbers that I want? What are people going to think about it? Do they think it's going to be worth it? All these thoughts and chatter that happens in our head in the middle of it, that's really our inner guidance going, babe, you are coming out of alignment with who you truly are. Let's get you back on track. So in a nutshell, yes, you can heal from anxiety. Yes, you can have a different life when you move through those pillars of anxiety. And how it affects you in business? Wow. The world is your oyster. It's like I've seen so many entrepreneurs, so many business owners, so many healers, coaches, product-based business owners really scale and thrive in business because they've let go of these underlying beliefs. They've let go of the need to know. They know what they can control and what they can't. They understand the narratives of their own mind. And it's not something that they even need to think about on a daily basis because we've embedded it in their world, in their mind, in their consciousness, in their subconsciousness, in their energy field. And when this happens, you see so many synchronicities, so many puzzle pieces of your business start to come together. Stuff that you've never thought of before, stuff that you've never even thought was possible. The impossible becomes possible. I've seen single mums scale their business from $1,000 to $2,000 a month to $15,000 a month in a matter of 6 to 12 months. I've seen women scale coaching businesses up to 50K months. I've seen women hit the $1 million mark. I've seen it all. It is very obvious the people that are willing to do the work, the business just scales. And the people that have the resistance to then want to hold on to their story, ones that struggle to scale,